What if everything you learned about human history was wrong? Not slightly off, not missing a few details. Completely, fundamentally wrong. Because in 1994, a local farmer walking through the hills of southeastern Turkey accidentally stepped on something that has quietly unsettled archaeologists ever since. Something so ancient, so impossibly sophisticated, that the world's top scientists have spent the last 30 years trying to explain it, and still can't fully agree. And the worst part? Most people have never even heard of it. Stay with me for the next 6 minutes, because by the end of this, you will never look at human history the same way again. I promise you that.
His name was Klaus Schmidt, a German archaeologist with decades of field experience, a man who had studied ancient ruins across the world. But when he arrived at that dusty hill in southeastern Turkey in 1994, a place locals called Göbekli Tepe, meaning Potbelly Hill, and he saw what had been found, he went quiet. Because what was sticking out of that dry soil wasn't just a carved stone, it was the tip of something enormous, something deliberate, something that had no business being there. Schmidt began excavating. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, and what slowly emerged from the earth threw the archaeological world into a kind of controlled panic. Massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing up to 5.5 meters tall, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in perfect circular enclosures, carved with extraordinary detail. Foxes with bared teeth, vultures mid-flight, serpents coiling around stone, headless human figures, and symbols that no one has fully decoded to this day. Schmidt ordered carbon dating. He needed numbers. He needed certainty. The results came back. 11,500 years old. He ran the test again. Same answer. Göbekli Tepe was built 6,000 years before Stonehenge, 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza, at a time when, according to everything historians believed, human beings were barely surviving, hunting animals, gathering food, living in scattered groups with no permanent home. Schmidt reportedly sat down on the ground and stared at the stones for a very long time, because he understood exactly what this meant. Someone had rewritten human history, and the world was only just finding out. Now, here's where I need you to stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you doesn't just break the timeline, it breaks the logic of how civilization is supposed to work. And once you hear this, you'll start questioning every history textbook you've ever read.
Let's talk about who actually built this. For over a century, the story of human civilization went like this. People wandered as hunter-gatherers first. Then they learned to farm. Farming gave them food security, which meant they could settle. Settlements grew into villages, villages into cities, and only then, only after all of that, did complex society emerge, the kind that could plan, coordinate, and build something monumental. That's the sequence, that's the ladder. Göbekli Tepe shatters that ladder into pieces. The people who built it had no permanent settlements, no agriculture anywhere nearby, no cities, no kings issuing orders, no writing system, no blueprint. And yet, they moved stones weighing up to 20 tons with a precision that engineers today find difficult to replicate, even with modern equipment.
They didn't build one enclosure, or two. Archaeologists have uncovered at least 20 circular structures, one layered beneath the other, built across hundreds of years. And here is the detail that makes serious scientists lower their voices when they say it. Only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. 5%. Whatever is still beneath that hill, we haven't seen it. And given what the 5% has already done to our understanding of history, nobody is fully prepared for the other 95. But the building of it, as impossible as that already is, isn't even the strangest part of this story. Because at some point, the people who created this sacred place made a decision that archaeologists argue about to this day. A decision so deliberate and calculated that it raises a question nobody has cleanly answered. Why did they bury it? Keep watching. This is where it gets deeply unsettling.
Göbekli Tepe was not abandoned. It was not destroyed by war. It was not buried by a flood or an earthquake or the slow passage of time. It was deliberately filled in. Thousands of tons of rubble and soil, carefully packed around every pillar, every enclosure, every carved surface, sealing the entire site underground. Intentionally, methodically, as if someone wanted it gone forever, or as if someone wanted it protected. That distinction matters enormously, because those are two completely different stories about who these people were and what they understood about the future. If they buried it to hide it, from what? From whom? What were they afraid of? If they buried it to preserve it, then they knew something. They believed that what they had built mattered enough that future generations, thousands of years away, would need to find it. They were right. We found it. Klaus Schmidt spent the final years of his life before his death in 2014 arguing something the academic world found deeply uncomfortable. He believed Göbekli Tepe didn't just change the timeline of civilization, it changed the cause of it. His theory, now gaining serious traction, is this: people didn't build temples because they had already settled and developed complex society. They built the temple first. And the need to feed the pilgrims and worshippers who gathered at this holy site, that need is what forced the invention of agriculture. Religion didn't emerge from civilization. Civilization emerged from religion. The drive to believe in something greater than survival, that was the engine. That was the spark. And it happened here, on a potbelly hill in Turkey, 12,000 years ago. But I haven't told you the strangest detail yet. The one specific thing carved into these stones that has researchers genuinely spooked, because it suggests these people weren't just worshippers, they were watchers, and they were recording something catastrophic. Give me 90 more seconds. Look closely at the carvings. Not just the animals, though those alone are remarkable in their realism and detail. Look at the patterns, the repeated symbols etched into multiple pillars across different enclosures and different centuries. Researchers have identified a recurring set of markings, H-shapes, crescents, specific animal groupings in specific sequences that appear too consistently to be decorative. In 2017, researchers Martin Sweatman and Demetrius Tsikritsis published a study suggesting that some of these symbols may carry astronomical meaning, that the arrangement of figures on one pillar, now called the Vulture Stone, may be a record of a comet impact around 10,950 BC. It's a contested theory. Not all archaeologists accept it. but it has not been dismissed either. And if there's even partial truth to it, it means something extraordinary. These people were not just building a temple, they were watching the sky, recording catastrophic events, and coding information into stone precisely because they understood that stone outlasts everything else. Think about what that requires. Not just intelligence, we've always known early humans were intelligent. It requires foresight, a concept of the future, a belief that people they would never meet in a world they couldn't imagine would one day find these stones and understand what was written on them. They were sending a message across 12,000 years, and we are only now beginning to read it.
Göbekli Tepe doesn't fit the story. It doesn't fit the timeline. It doesn't fit the comfortable, linear version of human progress we've been taught since childhood. But maybe that's the point. Maybe history isn't a straight line from primitive to advanced. Maybe there were peaks and valleys we haven't found yet. Maybe human consciousness, the drive to create, to worship, to record, is far older and far deeper than we're willing to admit. A farmer found a stone, and beneath it was 12,000 years of questions we are only now brave enough to ask. The past isn't behind us. It's still buried, waiting.